Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. Dr. Stone is back. Dr. Stone, Season 3, Episode 1. I was actually unaware that a special for Dr. Stone was released way back in July. At this point, it has been roughly 2 years since we've got a season of Dr. Stone. I went back to check out my last review, and the last review I did was March 25th of 2021. So actually a little bit over 2 years between Season 2, Season 3 of Dr. Stone. So you'll have to forgive me if I forget a bunch of names and a lot of what happened. Season 1, we got a lot of episodes, 24, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then we only got like 11 episodes in Season 2, which was very confusing because usually if an anime is only going to have one core, it's usually 12 episodes. To my knowledge, this season is going to be 2 cores. So we should be getting a full 24 episode season, which will be delightful because this is kind of one of those guilty pleasure animes where there is a good storyline, there's some good stuff going on, but it's also like not as massively popular as everything else that's going on. I initially thought this was being released on the 9th. I got it mixed up with Demon Slayer. So Demon Slayer is going to come out on the 9th, which would be Sunday. This is technically getting recorded. I think it's like midnight right now where I am, so it's technically April 8th when I'm recording this. I believe it's either the 5th or the 6th this came out. So I want to say Wednesday. I want to say Wednesday this came out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. You don't technically need to watch the special to get caught up. It's about an hour long, but it also doesn't hurt. The gist of it is they have a hot air balloon now. They're building a ship, and there's a guy that got unpetrified called Ryusui, if I'm saying his name correctly. He is going to be the captain of the ship to get to the other side of the world because the goal at this point is to figure out what petrified the entire world, save Tsukasa, who is the one that we defeated last season, if you remember him, Mr. Crazy Strong Ape Man, and then save humanity as a whole. So this is Ryusui. We have Chrome, if you're forgetting the names, and we have Senku. I'm going to try to remember the names of everybody here, but I'm just going to call him Ryu for short. He has basically capital on oil now when they've actually find oil because they're looking for oil to make the ship a combination sail ship and motor ship to get across the sea faster and not constantly have to deal with just the winds. And that is good as well. So we run into the main village here. We get to see a little bit of background of everyone freezing. They talked about, basically, I believe it is the bat guano helping unpetrify people here. We have Ukyo and we have Kohaku. And, they're just kind of talking about Tsukasa, talking about how long they've been in the village, how long they've been unpetrified, what's happened, kind of things along those lines. Here we have Gen, and then we have Kaseki, I believe. Then we have Genro and Kenro. Don't ask me to tell you which one is which. But essentially, the entire idea here is to just build up the ship, help the village survive, get across the sea. But there's also all of these other steps. You got to make sure the village is solid. You can't go on petrifying a bunch of people because they may run out of food. There's an entire section on this where we get into some agriculture where we're starting to build wheat. Essentially, they're making a wheat farm in order to feed the people. And also they need a lot of biscuits to preserve food. Ryu here is really annoyed because everything is a fish dish. They're even talking about, we haven't had a bad fishing year in a long time, so we shouldn't have to worry about it. But, Ryu is now realizing that the reason that humanity hasn't progressed past this stage is a combination of illness and a combination of not having enough food in this village. and basically people died. So when your only focus is food, and not and trying not to get tuberculosis and die, then it is, you're not really going to advance from a science standpoint at the very least. We have Kohaku here. I do remember her getting very angry when she gets called a gorilla or a lioness. Really not a fan of the lioness, as you can see by her angry face as they're flying in the hot air balloon. Basically, they're mapping out the terrain because the volcano in Japan has erupted multiple times in the past 3,700 years. So they have to remap everything out, try to locate new things. And you learn a little bit about this if you watch the special as well, if you're interested in seeing that. Yet again, not mandatory. But then we have this cute little Minecraft animation in there. Um, I'm assuming that this probably relates to the manga. I have no idea how far the manga is, but probably a little bit more relevant. I don't know that many people that still currently play Minecraft. I personally haven't played it in years, at this point. But Ryu is pretty much just interested in food, and they do find a herd of goats, um, so they're able to get more meat besides just fish. And then they also find a cedar forest. Oh yeah, Mount Fuji. There you go. Possible oil fields over here, and then they also find a bunch of wheat. And basically like, yay, maybe nobody will die this winter, which is like terrifying. Like, you just imagine the thought of like, oh, we might not have enough food this winter, so all of our old people and maybe some of our children are going to die, and the adults are probably going to starve so they can feed the children, and some of the adults might die too. But no longer the case with the power of science. Um, Ryu also developed a currency, which Senku and Gen are actually using to their advantage, because he was like, "I'll help you sail, but I want all rights to the oil." And Senku was like, "Yeah, I don't care, sure." And then he he made currency, um, to use and buy things. So Senku is now selling things to build funds. To motivate people to work as well, and then also he's getting the money in order to buy the oil from Ryu, in order for him to sail the ship across the world. He also captains the hot air balloon as well, because he knows a lot about wind, things along those lines. So yeah, there's the wheat field. They're taking the seeds back closer to the village. Obviously, you don't want to have to get in a hot air balloon to tend to your wheat field every single day. You'd have to make a lot more hot air balloons, um, in order to do so. Um, so that is the plan. In the meantime, we have Taiju, Nikki, we got Gen here, Magma, Kinro or Genro, I can't remember, and I believe it's Yuzuria, if I'm remembering her name correctly. Yuzuria and Taiju have basically been around from episode 1 essentially. So they're not really main characters, but they're also not main characters. They're like secondary characters, so we lost them for a long period of time, if you remember that. But they are in the process of working hard to glue people back together to revive them, because they found out that if you glue all the pieces back together, then when you revive people, they're not missing an arm or a leg, which is pretty good. Um, Pretty good. Here they're talking about food. This is where they start. This is Yo. He was a police officer. Anyone that you see with stone on them or weird markings, typically those are the people that have been unpetrified from being turned to stone. No, that is just kind of a heads up there. You got Yuzuria making sun hats. Again, tricking people into into like, oh, whoever makes the best wheat will become the village leader. Why Senku is gone, and that really motivates people. Taiju is just a workhorse. He has unlimited stamina. Nikki is also a very strong woman, um, helping the field. Yuzuria is very crafty, being that she can make clothes and sun hats and things. Um, and then Taiju here is basically saying that I was never able to really didn't his parents died when he was very young, so he wants to do everything to make sure everybody stays alive, and get everybody revived. in the future. So obviously, the more people they revive, they don't want to have to worry about food. So we're gonna have bread and wheat and all this other good stuff because that's exactly what they're growing. Because they tracked down the goats and the goats were nibbling on the wheat. So now they have both goats and wheat. So more food is the essence of the majority of this episode. We also learned that the soil is acidic, and by putting crushed up cells in the soil, neutralizes the acidity, helps the wheat grow because wheat does not grow in acidic soil, which I had no idea. This is news to me. But Senku kind of goes on to explain the science aspects of it. He brings out a couple of pH test strips, is what you previously saw there. Now they're flying over the mountain, checking out the wheat fields, kind of further explaining that. And then they come down, wheat's growing, everybody's prosperous, we got food. Ryu is talking about, oh, we're going to make all this great, beautiful bread, and Senku burns the crap out of it. The villagers, being that they have kind of a more plain palate, they've never had modern foods, they don't have the luxury of knowing what it tastes like properly, so they have no problem eating the burnt bread. But as you can see here, Senku and Ryusu Risui. I'm probably gonna. That's why I keep calling him Ryu because I keep messing up his name. But they're on the ground, like, yeah, we got to figure out how to make bread better. So the next goal is, all right, let's maybe revive a chef or something. But that's where the episode ends. And then it says, this is a work of fiction with the plants, animals, methods described are based on reality of foraging science, which I mean, it's pretty cool that a lot of this is based on the reality of science and how things are actually done, and I think that's a cool aspect to a lot of this, is you learn a lot of new things in the process of watching the show. But for a first episode without watching the special, probably solid 8 out of 10 overall. Not the best in the world, but at the same time not the worst. The only thing I would kind of complain about is it wouldn't. I know I complain about this in My Hero Academia, but that's more, and I have in the past. But like a recap episode of the characters and what has been going on. My Hero Academia, it's usually like 6 months. I feel like in between seasons, maybe 6 months to a year. They keep spitting them out really fast, and there's constantly a recap episode. With Dr. Stone, even the special wasn't a recap episode. It actually kind of added to the story. I mean, yeah, sure, you got some of the characters' names, but I feel like being as long as this was between seasons, we very much so would have benefited from a recap episode. I mean, I forgot half the characters' names. I had to go back and watch some of my reviews. If you're confused on anything, yeah, go back and watch some of those old reviews. Catch yourself up. It'll be a little bit quicker, or go to a summary page or something. I think I summarized the entire season. I could be wrong. If I remember correctly, I did. But yeah, that is my only major complaint. Is we could have used maybe add 5 minutes to the episode. It's like a 24-minute episode, but maybe add another 5 minutes to it just to give us a quick recap of characters. What happened, and be like, okay, here are the characters. Or like do what My Hero Academia does for the first episode or two and throw in those character cards and just their names, petrified, unpetrified, something along those lines, like special skills, strongman, crafty, science guy, things along those lines. I think would have benefited, being that it has been at this point slightly over 2 years. Which is a long time. Something, I almost forgot about Dr. Stone, but got excited at the release of it. And then I ended up missing it by a few days anyway. But is what it is. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, leave a like. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.